In the next topic, we are going to discuss what is the absolute value of an integer. Let us try to understand what we mean by absolute value of an integer. The absolute value of an integer is also called as modulus of an integer. The absolute value or modulus of an integer is the number itself neglecting the sign. Let us consider an integer a. The absolute value of a is the number itself neglecting its sign. So, as per the definition of absolute value of integer, the absolute value of an integer is the number itself neglecting the sign. This is denoted by the symbol modulus of a. Let us see the actual meaning of the absolute value of an integer. So, in some situations, we need to consider the numerical or numeral value of the number neglecting the sign. In such kind of situations, we make use of the concept of modulus or absolute value. Let us now understand how to get the absolute value of an integer or modulus of an integer. If we go by the actual definition of absolute value, the absolute value of an integer a is nothing but the number itself neglecting the sign. That is, if the number is the positive integer, so obviously, when we are not writing anything before the number, it means it is a positive integer. Thus, if we have a positive number, even after negating the positive sign and writing it again, it remains a positive number. So, whenever we have a positive number, we get the absolute value as the same number without any change. In case we have a negative number, that is, if we have a number as the negative integer, then we need to multiply the minus sign to the given number so that the entire number becomes positive. So, the absolute value of an integer a is given by minus a if a is less than 0, and the absolute value of a is taken as 0 if a is equal to 0, because 0 is neither positive nor negative, so it does not carry any sign. So, even the modulus is going to neglect the sign, and it would remain 0. Let us understand this definition more clearly with the help of some examples. Let us write again. As we have already discussed that the absolute value of an integer is nothing but the number itself. If a is a positive integer and the absolute value is minus a, in case a is negative number, and the absolute value is 0 in case a is equal to 0. Let us now take some examples. If we consider the absolute value of plus 5, that is, modulus of 5, it is 5. The absolute value of minus 5, that is, modulus of minus 5 is 5, and absolute value of 0 or modulus of 0 is 0. Let us understand how we get these values. Getting a positive number means we are going to write nothing before the number, that is, 5 in this case. That means we are neglecting the sign. In case we have taken the absolute value of plus 5, as per the definition, the absolute value of a positive integer is the number itself neglecting the sign. That means the absolute value is going to be 5. Similarly, neglecting the minus sign, we get the absolute value of minus 5 as 5. How can we neglect the sign of the negative integer? To neglect the minus sign, we need to multiply the integer with the minus sign so that the result becomes a positive. Hence, absolute value of minus 5 can be obtained by multiplying minus 5 by minus sign, and we get 5. Let us check for the absolute value of 0. The absolute value of 0 would be 0 itself, because 0 is neither positive nor negative. All these examples can be easily correlated with the definition. In case of positive integer, the absolute value is going to be same number. There is no change in the number. That is, the modulus of a is a if a is greater than 0. In case if a is a negative integer, the absolute value is the number itself neglecting the sign. That is, modulus of minus a is a if a is less than 0. In case of positive integer, the absolute value is going to be same number. There is no change in the number. That is, modulus of a is a if a is greater than 0. Notice that plus 5 can be written as only 5. This means the plus sign has been neglected. So, by default, there's no sign before a number. It means the number is a positive number. What we can conclude from this is that the absolute value of any integer is never negative. That means it can be positive or it can be 0. As we have already discussed the definition of modulus, we need to be very careful in the case of negative integers. Otherwise, we can just apply the definition and neglect the sign and write the result.